Hey guys, Mark with exoticcarplayplace. Today we are going to do basically a little surfing here, a little internet surfing, looking for one of the most unreliable and most expensive 3 Series BMWs that isn't necessarily a new one. And so if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I make reference to shopping for some of the most unreliable BMWs available. Well, today we're going to hone in on one specific model. Now, in the last video, you can probably recognize I've been looking for a 335i. Now, probably an iX, XI, however you want to call it, but I'm not sure, not really, fixated on the sedan or the coupe necessarily. The big thing was I did not want an automatic transmission. That's the main thing that I did not fit my criteria. But today we're going to talk about a specific model, and I'm going to ask the question, is it of good value or is it not of good value? But I'm going to explain some of the specifications on it. So the focus of today's video is, again, one of the most unreliable 3 Series BMWs that I'd be shopping for. And I have to make a determination whether it's worth buying. And that car is, in fact, a 2011 BMW 335 IS. The IS being, of course, the special sport model, the slightly tuned up version. The 335 IS added a bunch of features, and I'm going to hone in on some of that, and then I'm going to answer the whole question, is that worth the money for a 335 IS, or would a standard 335i suffice? Or, because of the cost, do I look at an M3? So let's get started, guys. So first of all, we'll talk about some of the 335 factors. I'm going to start browsing here, and I'm going to look on the computer here and see what I can come up with. So firstly, the 335 IS, what it does over a standard 335, of course, is in 2011, it has a nice sculpted rear diffuser. If you look at a standard 335i, it's more of a rounded off bumper, pretty standard fare for BMW. The IS gives you a nicely contoured rear bumper and rear fascia that really, in essence, kind of spruces things up a little bit. It fits around the tailpipes a little better. It's overall a sharper look, but it doesn't infringe on the M3 look. Now, apparently, as an option, it also had the black chrome exhaust tips as well. Is unique, versus the standard 335i. Had some of the standard tips, of course. The IS has something unique, the exhaust tips. Other things that the 335 IS had, where it had the shadow trim, so it had the darker trim throughout on the whole exterior of the car, which again, that's the latest and the greatest. Maybe back in 2011 it wasn't. Today, for sure, the chrome look is out. So the IS has that nicer shadow trim. It also had the headliner. It had an improved headliner, anthracite headliner in the IS over the standard 335i. Now the 335 IS also had an upgraded exhaust system. Now it wasn't a standard sport exhaust. It was an additional sport tuned exhaust. It had extra guts pulled out of it in essence. So it was even louder than a sport exhaust. As well, it had valving that would enable it to go quiet under certain conditions and of course be a little louder when you wanted it to be. Then another thing the 335 IS had was stiffer motor mounts, which of course gave everything a much more rigid feel in handling. There's less movement of all the engine and drivetrain within the chassis, and again gives the car a slightly more taut feel. Less movement, stiffer shifting, because when you have stiffer mounts all the way around, everything becomes more rigid, including the shifting mechanism. Now, the 335 IS also had something else which really appeals to me, and I'm not sure about you guys, but as I said before, I was really looking for a manual transmission in the 335. I don't want an automatic. But the IS features the DCT, so the dual clutch transmission is available in the 335 IS, which makes that car especially crisp for handling. Yes, it'll shift like an automatic if you put it in auto mode, but it has the dual clutch transmission, so it's very hard, it's very aggressive, and shifts very much more in a sporting fashion than you would find in an automatic transmission. And really the DCT strikes the perfect balance between the automatic wet style transmission versus, the manual row-it-yourself gearbox. So the DCT really is the happy medium. I love a DCT transmission. For me, that's almost the best of both worlds. So that is a selling point. So another thing is the 335IS has a little bit more power. It has 320 horsepower instead of the standard 300 ponies that you find in a standard 335. Now, does that sound like a lot? Not really. To be honest, you probably won't even feel that. But either way, it's tuned up. It's got 20 to 30 horsepower more than a stock 335. Anyway, more for bragging rights. So is it really worth it? I don't think it's necessarily worth it for the extra coin, but there you have that as well. Another thing, if you're going to track your car, or if you choose that you're going to drive the car particularly hard on a regular basis, that's where the 335IS comes in handy. It has additional cooling capabilities, so the radiator's upgraded. It has extra oil cooling as well. That is only an option, or you can upgrade it if you want to improve the cooling capabilities of the stock 335. This comes factory in the IS model, which is a great little upgrade. If you really want to take your car and you want to autocross, or you want to spend some time on the racetrack, you're going to have to upgrade some of those features anyway. The IS model will cover you off for that. So the 335IS also has some other little tricks, like the fog light delete, sunroof delete option, standard 18-inch wheels, the 313 wheels, it's standard on this car, and it has a unique gauge cluster with the fancy lettering that says I drive a 335IS. And of course, there's other unique badging all over the car. In the threshold, you have extra different badging on the gauges as well as the back. The decal is unique, so there's some extra touches that tell you you're in something a little bit different than the standard car. But here's where the trump card comes in for all of this. You guys might ask yourself, so what is the problem? Why would you not buy a 335IS? Well, this is where the reliability discussion comes in. Two reasons. Number one is it's very expensive upgraded options over a 335i. A 335i, you could spend about $5,000 and you could have 100 horse more, and you can fill in some of the gaps with the extra cooling and do some extra upgrades and get that car, make that car essentially faster than a stock 335IS. So that's one way to do it and save yourself a few dollars. The other thing is, because the dollar amount is so close to the M3, it's sort of between a standard 335i and the M3, the E90 or E92 M3, it's stuck right in between that. It really begs the question is, do I even look at this thing? Either go with the 335i or go all in with the M3. Because the M3 has the full body package. It's the wider fenders, the bigger wheels. It truly is the all-in performance car by BMW. Whereas the 335IS doesn't have the limited slip differential. They still hold back on you. And that's why if you want the real track machine, you've got to go with the M3. But where the real trump card comes in, and so we talk about reliability, catch this, guys. So do you know in 2011, the standard 335i had the new revised N55 twin-scroll single-turbo engine. The improved engine. The engine that had improved injectors, improved turbo systems, and overall the car was quite a bit more reliable and had even less turbo lag. Well, guess what? In 2011, in the IS carried through with old parts and utilized the early N54 engine. And when we talk about the N54 engine, you know, you've seen my other videos, guys, that has issues, all kinds of issues like wastegate rattling issues. It's got injector issues. It's got oil filter housing oil leaks. It has turbo problems. The list goes on and on with the N54. Now, yes, the N54 is more capable of a bit more power, but the N54 and its twin turbo setup is certainly not known for reliability. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most unreliable 3 Series BMWs ever produced. A person who wants a 335 is somebody like me who's looking for performance and is looking for that car that is tunable. That's really the only reason you would want a 335, and that's why I've been shopping for one. So herein lies the question. Do I go with a 335i standard? Do I go with a 335IS? Or do I go with an M3? Well, right now, I would have to say the 335IS is probably going to be off the limits for me. There's some lot of nice little touches to it, but if you look, and I'm browsing here now, so going through this list, Here's a couple for sale here locally on my local trader. There's a blue one and there's a white one. And the worst part is they are getting up there in price. One guy actually wants 22 grand or $21,000 and the other guy wants 28. I've seen E92 M3s for the same money as that one 335 IS. That makes 0 sense to me. I would take an M3 all day, every day, anytime over that IS. Now, if you could give me an IS for about $15,000, I would buy that. To me, it would be worth it because, to be honest with you, 335 Is now you can have all day long for 10, 11 grand for decent cars with reasonable mileage on them. So why not expect 15 grand? I wouldn't pay more than that for an IS. You know, I would give a little bit of a premium, of course, over a standard car, but I definitely wouldn't spend the kind of money that people are asking. I would just go, if I'm going to spend that kind of coin, I'm going all in with the M3. Now, we know the M3 has had a bit of a reputation with rod bearings as well, like the E60 M5s. But at the end of the day, it is really an awesome machine. So it really leaves me begging, where does the 335 IS fit in this game? Really, a very small percentage of the population would even want that car because of the premium dollars, the lacking reliability, sort of combination of old technology because of the N54 when the N55 was actually available in the standard car. That leaves you wondering why. So in actuality, the A335 IS in a 2011, for example, is a very unreliable car, just like any of the other early N54 cars, and leaves me in a lurch and leaves me asking, why bother? I would go with a standard 335 or just go M3. So I hope you liked the video, everybody. Make sure you give the channel a thumbs up, like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you come around for the next video on Sunday, and don't forget to hit the store below where there's a bunch of we've got some great new paraphernalia. You want to buy some shirts, hats, clothes, whatever. It's in there, the link's below. Check it out in the description below. Talk to you guys soon. Mark here checking out with Exotic Car Play Place. See you then. Bye-bye.